Good morning. Time now is 8:29, coming to you just a couple of minutes later than usual here with the 8 o'clock update. We had to get that in the app. Again, recorded. It is in the WTOC weather app, also WTOC.com. They're linked on the homepage and on our Facebook page, posted below in an earlier morning update. It will be updated with the new information. And again, no drastic changes with these updates. At this point, you're not going to see anything huge, drastic, crazy. It's a gradual trend, maybe minor adjustments each time. And this time the adjustments, remember, 8 a.m., no track changes, but with the strength, 145 mile per hour sustained winds. Earlier this morning, 140, still Cat 4, and about 10, 11 miles per hour away from a Cat 5 status. May strengthen a little bit more as it approaches the Bahamas over the next 24 hours or so. Moving now due west at 12 miles per hour. That westward turn, that westward movement that we've been talking about for a few days is occurring. So again, it's not like everything is unknown with this. We have a decent idea, a very good idea through that trek to the Bahamas and into tomorrow afternoon, and then it gets uncertain here. Again, it's going to continue to move off to the west-northwest, if not due west. I'll go ahead and pause it here. There will be little wobbles. Don't read too much into them at this point through Sunday. And then it's going to slow down somewhere in here. Maybe just a little bit here. We'll redraw that. Somewhere in here. Depending on exactly where it slows down, how slow it moves, that'll determine at which point it turns north. The slower it moves, the earlier it slows down, the more likely it is to take a slightly offshore track. The consensus model is it slows down as it approaches the coast even further, beginning to take that north turn, then riding up into the coastal empire and the low country as a weakening hurricane, but still a very powerful system. Still a possibility it does ride a little bit further west up the Florida Peninsula into South Georgia. Subtle fluctuation is likely to continue to occur, and to be honest, some of the new data this morning favors the eastern, slightly offshore solution, even offshore the coastal empire and the low country. So this is far from over, far from set in stone. Something we'll be continuing to monitor, something that'll likely see further adjustments for several days to come. And I want to remind you, I know your questions are coming in, probably rapid fire at this point, and rightfully so. I mean, you want to know what's going on, what your community can expect. Just a couple ground rules we have to operate by here for the next couple of days. First of all, unfortunately, I'm not going to get every question answered here. I do apologize for that. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if we're not addressing something you would like to know, feel free to holler. You can do so on my Facebook page, WTOC Cutter Martin. Also find me directly on Twitter at WTOC, or actually just at Cutter Martin, or you can search WTOC Cutter Martin and it should pop up. We already have 95 comments, questions coming in. May miss some. Going to hit the big points, and then we're going to refer you to the app and to the website. Also, I'm going to let you know you're going to ask about your specific community's impacts, but at this point, I can't tell you. I can give you general ideas and what sort of impacts would happen with each scenario, but breaking it down community by community, it's just not in it may seem contrary here, may seem untrue, but really not in the best interest right now because it's going to have you honing in and making decisions on something now that shouldn't be made until just a little bit later as we become a little bit more certain on what's happening. We still encourage that you prepare and check your safety supply list. Those you should be doing regardless, making sure you're ready to go if need be, and if the worst case verifies as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, 5 days from now. But again, right now we're just kind of hanging tight, watching some adjustments and new data come in here. Good morning, Tina. Good morning, Morgan. Hey there, Michelle. Betty says, looks like no matter what it turns, we're going to get a hurricane. Not necessarily, Betty. If it takes that further east track again, we will take a look at some new model data in just a moment. And this is a relatively small in size hurricane. Will grow a little bit as it turns north, but could keep the worst conditions, the majority of the severe stuff, well offshore. Again, just a possibility. Kristen, good question. How wide is the hurricane? I don't have a graphic for this, but at the moment, but I can tell you hurricane force winds only extend out about 30 miles from the center. That's the distance from Tybee to Pooler or so, maybe just a little bit past that. So it's a tiny little area, and those aren't the 140 mile per hour sustained winds, 145. Those are just 74 plus. So even the 74 mile per hour sustained winds do not exist sustained beyond 30 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds only extend out about 100 miles or so, 105, from the center of circulation. May seem like a big distance, but that's really not that huge as far as tropical systems go. I mean, Irma had tropical storm force winds extending out 300, 400 miles from the center of circulation. So this is a relatively small system. All the more reason that the exact location of its path is crucial. So again, it's going to slow down. And I have a video on my Facebook page, WTOC Cutter Martin, slow down in here, and the video talks about that, the different scenarios. It's changed a little bit since then, maybe a little further east, but the same holds. The earlier it slows down, the slower it goes, the more likely it is to take a turn earlier, sparing us the worst impacts. If it follows the middle of this track, of course, we would have direct severe impacts, significant storm surge, significant severe weather, destructive winds, isolated tornadoes, flooding. It would be nasty. Coastal Empire, low country, if that occurred late Wednesday night, early Thursday. If it continues moving and takes its sweet time slowing down, kind of ironic there, it would likely make landfall in South Florida, Southeast Florida, making a north turn through the Florida Peninsula. And yes, it would move into South Georgia as a tropical system, likely a tropical storm. It would spread heavy rain and maybe some isolated tornadoes and the risk of flooding, some high tides, but lesser impacts with this scenario, far less impacts with this right scenario, and very severe impacts, especially by local and historical standards here, if it were to take the consensus track right now. But remember, look at the timestamp, 2 a.m. Thursday. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Thursday morning. It is Saturday morning. Sunday morning, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, 5 days. Remember, we're just at the tip of the cone here. The room for error is rather large that many days out, especially with tropical forecasting. That's a lot of time between now and then. We still have a few days before you're going to even hear any crucial decisions being made, even in a worst case as far as evacuations and stuff like that. Plenty of time for things to change. And here's something interesting. A lot of folks talking about forecast models want to actually go ahead and typically, I don't show as many models on TV. I just prefer not to in most scenarios because I can give you the same valuable information, but without having to show them and getting hung up on one particular model, one particular line. But this drives home a good point, so I want to show them to you. Yesterday morning's model runs. You saw these. You're probably very nervous. Southeast Florida, riding up the coast or just inland and more directly impacting the coastal empire and the low country. That was yesterday morning's model runs, and notice how they were pretty clustered here along the U.S. Florida East Coast and then up and eventually out riding the coastline. But this morning, we are noticing that the east trend does continue. Again, a turn off the Florida East Coast, but well off the coast, sparing Florida significant impacts, or severe impacts at least. And technically east of our area would be an offshore wind, some water level rise, and maybe some wind and some rain coastal counties. But unless it really doubles, triples in size, which it won't, it's going to be a small to medium-sized hurricane. The vast majority of the nasty weather would be removed and offshore. Charleston points north up the coast from the coastal empire and low country. That is the consensus this morning. Obviously, there's plenty of time for further shifts east, further shifts west, but the trend has been for this data to shift off to the east and keep the majority of the impacts, at least locally, concerning here local weather conditions. The worst of it east and offshore from our coastline. So here's kind of a summary. Then I'll get into answering some questions. Dorian has rapidly strengthened. That happened yesterday evening, yesterday overnight. Major hurricane will slow its movement Sunday into Monday, turn north Sunday night, Monday. Again, this is general here. Just because it goes from west to west-northwest today doesn't mean it's making that turn. Very gradual process. Severe weather is most possible late Wednesday into early Thursday. This will be the worst weather. Again, we are 5 days out. Think about the days where we have a rain chance at 60% 5 days out in the 7-day forecast. By the time we get to that day, rain chances have lowered or they have gone up to 100%. As confidence increases, as data becomes more consistent, it's only more complicated and more likely to change with the tropical forecast because there are so many variables in an area that is not sampled all that well by upper air analysis and all the tools that we use to develop and produce and put information into these forecast models that give us these scenarios and these possible possible, possible scenarios. So again, right now, I want to go ahead. I'm going to leave this up, a consensus or just a general summary of what we're watching for you this morning with the 8 o'clock update, while also refreshing the Facebook feed. That's what I'm doing now. In case you're wondering what I do back here, just below and out of the camera shot, I have my weather computers. I'm there looking at graphics, updating, drawing stuff for you. Also have my phone because I'm answering Facebook questions, and I'll continue to do that to make sure that you're getting the best information possible, at least from our end out. James says, on Wilmington Island, I don't want Matthew 2, the sequel. Absolutely, James. We don't want that either. Let's see. Sally says 5 days out for Savannah. Yes, late Wednesday to early Thursday. Hey there, Chelsea. Thanks for watching. Priscilla, it's just going to be a Matthew or worse. We don't know the extent of impacts yet. We can give you a timing for potential worst impacts, but it's all dependent on that track. So here, let's go into what we're watching for you. As far as this track is concerned, it's loading up in the computer behind me or in the monitor behind me. If it were to come in like somewhere between this area, it would be worse than Matthew. It would be, surge-wise especially, worse than Matthew. If it were to come in here, it would not be worse than Matthew. It would be lesser impacts than Matthew. If it were to take a far-right solution, staying offshore out here, far better. No significant severe impacts here if it were to take that rightward solution, that earlier right turn or north turn. So again, we don't exactly know. Eric, is it too early to tell where it's going to hit with any certainty? Yes. We can give you possibilities, but with certainty, yes. Wendy, I can't give specifics. Amber can't give specifics. Myrtle Beach, you need to have your plan in place. You need to review your safety checklist, but again, a possibility for Myrtle Beach as well. Anyone in the cone, you need to have your plan ready to go, your supplies and your safety checklist ready to go, but it doesn't mean with any certainty that you're going to be directly hit or anything like that. You're welcome, Sally. Thanks for watching. And do I think the eastward direction will continue? To some extent, yes, but I'm not saying it's going to take a hard right turn and going to spare everybody. Again, it's basically what happened was this storm rapidly strengthened yesterday, and models now realize that. They were not necessarily anticipating, some were, not all of them, that rapid strengthening and the impact on movement. And that's why, one of the reasons why we're beginning to see that eastward shift. They also really slow it down kind of early here, allowing for the ridge of high pressure to back off a little bit, trough of low pressure to dip in and allow for a weakness. Major hurricanes are lazy things. They always take the easy way out, and they're going to want to, this one in particular, find this weakness if it's there and turn to the north. Jamie, what does it look like for inland Georgia, Jessup? Again, I can't tell you exactly what impacts will be specifically. In this scenario, it would be severe. Widespread power outages, there would be damage to trees and to some homes. There would be quite a bit of coastal flooding in this worst case scenario. Further inland, widespread rain, isolated tornadoes, less wind. Further offshore, Jessup probably wouldn't get very much at all. Even our coastal counties probably would not get all that much if this remained offshore a good bit. Remember, hurricane force winds only extend out 30 miles from the center, not 140 mile per hour winds, 145, but even 74 mile per hour sustained winds only extend out about 30 miles from that center. Tropical storm force winds, 39 miles per hour or stronger sustained, extend out about 105 miles. As hurricanes go, right now it's pretty small. Will grow a little bit in size as it turns north Tuesday and Wednesday, but not forecast to be a massive hurricane as hurricanes go. That's not presently the look of it. Possibility for Cat 5, can't totally rule it out, but basically going to hold its own today. Did go up 5 miles per hour with the most recent update. It's 11 miles per hour away from Cat 5 status, not all that far away. Won't make a huge difference in damage, but again, Cat 5 can't totally be ruled out in here. But also, we have major hurricanes that go through eye wall replacement cycles. These things are not steady. They're living, breathing things to an extent, obviously not really, and they do fluctuate a little bit. So if it goes through an eye wall replacement cycle, may weaken, it finishes the cycle, it strengthens back. So again, we're going to be watching for that possibility. Chris says the model shows the eye in Charleston. One model does. There are many models. Some keep it well offshore. So again, it's never a good idea to look at one particular model and one particular model run. We have to watch that trend. What is the consensus with each model run? What are they all saying together? What is all their input pointing towards? What are the features that are actually happening that the model may be missing or is doing a really good job at getting? And what has the trend been for the past few model runs and model cycles. That's the really important stuff to look at when making a forecast. Jamie says, I feel like the uncertainty is so great. By the time agencies decide, we probably need to leave because Southeast Georgia County is like crazy. It'd be too late to go anywhere. Jamie, that's not really, people may be pulling the gun too early in some areas, not officials, but of course, if someone leaves a week ahead of time, they may reserve a hotel room that someone who waited to a more appropriate time could have had. But you can't fault them. That's their choice if they're worried they're going to go. But again, it's 5 days out. We don't do evacuations 5 days out for hurricanes. It's going to take some time, and you will have plenty of time to evacuate, even if hotel rooms are a little bit sparse up here. We have the Atlanta Motor Speedway open up, other resources opening up to encourage people to have plenty of room up here. Florida doing their own things to keep people in Florida, but away from the danger zone. So, we're going to have to see how it goes, but I think agencies are doing a pretty good job here locally, keeping an eye on it, and if that call needs to be made, they surely will make it. But we do have plenty of time to watch it. Betty wants to know which model is more accurate. It depends. Historically, the European model, but that doesn't mean it's always right. And actually, model's decently in line right now, showing just offshore, turning up towards Charleston and points north. But remember, even those models have changed drastically over the past 24 hours. So even the European, is this model run right? Is the one 3 cycles ago right? Is it the 12Z, the OZ? It's a lot, and that's why models are a tool. When building a house, if you only had a saw, you had no wood, you had no nails, you had no screws, could you build the house? Probably not. If you only based a forecast on one model, or even a consensus of models without history in mind, without what's actually going on across North America in mind, and looking at all the really complicated data that's not as easy to look at as just a really flashy computer model, you can't make a forecast with just computer models, and I totally get it. You want that information, and you're being diligent, you're making sure that you have all the latest information. I applaud you as a citizen, a coastal resident, but just important to remember, models are only one tool and kind of the tool basket when developing a forecast. Caitlin, you're welcome. Thanks for watching. Jessica, hey there. How about Statesboro? Let's see. Statesboro can't give specific impacts. Ashley Vogel says, here we go again. There's room for change. We were always in the cone, and that's so important. I don't care where you live. If you are in this cone or adjacent to it, you need to have the same plan and the same mindset that, hey, I need to have my supplies checked, and I need to make sure that my plan is ready to go just in case, because we could just as easily see the shift east, just as easily see the center shift back to the west. But Savannah, we knew that north turn was going to happen, and we'd be put back in the cone to some extent eventually. Yes, we are in the center of the cone right now, but that may continue to waffle. I can guarantee it, put money on it to some extent, either east or west, as data becomes more consistent. You're very welcome, Ashley. Albany, again, you're on the edge here. Least likely West Georgia to see the most significant impacts. Again, least likely out here to see significant impacts, but can't totally rule out some there locally. But again, looking least likely West Georgia and the Florida Panhandle to have more direct impacts. You're very welcome, Janet, for the update. And again, right now, I want to go ahead and leave you with the track. And actually, we can go ahead and maybe the summary serves us best right now. Dorian has rapidly strengthened. Cat 4, can't totally rule out Cat 5, but more of a holding its own today. Only minor strengthening expected. Major hurricane will slow its movement tomorrow into Labor Day Monday. As it does so, turn north gradual here Sunday night into Monday, at least gradual initially. Severe weather possible here Wednesday, Thursday, and again, that track, we're 5 days out. Review your checklist, review your safety plan, breathe a sigh of relief, or not relief, a sigh of peace, I guess. You still need to focus on it. We're not out of the woods by any stretch. In fact, we need to pay even more attention now as we get a little bit closer, but still plenty of time, 5 days, to make crucial decisions on the county and the state kind of side of things, and the U.S. government, and make important family decisions kind of within the household. Plenty of time for that to occur. There's no major changes overnight. We're watching this. We encourage you to stay diligent. And if you have any specific questions, I know there's a lot running through your mind, and just because you're panicking, you have everyone's different. Some people are more worried about hurricanes than others. It's natural to be worried when you see yourself in the bullseye, even 5 days out. So we're here to keep you updated and to give you logical, consistent, hopefully, information there and do as best we can to keep you updated. And we will continue to do so. So my Facebook page, WTOC Cutter Martin, my Twitter account at Cutter Martin. You can find Ron Wallace on social media as well. We're there to help you out. All the WTOC weather team, WTOC TV, send us a message. We like to go into those and respond as well. We're here to keep you updated and to give you good, logical information as well as how best to prepare in the coming days. So time now is finding the clock here, 8:49. We'll see you back here. Another update coming up at 11 a.m. Meteorologist Andrew Gordon in the house then, updating you in the app, WTOC weather app. Get an update at least once in the morning, once in the evening. Social media, we're all there. We will be keeping you updated. Again, your next update from the Hurricane Center, and this will include that new track, whether it changes or not, by 11 a.m. Also, some new data coming in before 11 a.m. as well. We will keep you updated. For now, enjoy your Labor Day weekend Saturday, and we are here to answer any questions you may have. Feel free to reach out to me on Facebook after this live broadcast ends.